Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Call, and I am joined tonight by a motley crew in Arizona here. We're going to go around the room. We got Cory Ford here, Angry Spike Productions, and Cory is kind of a fitness nerd. Health, fitness, wellness nerd.
Got a degree in exercise science.
Yeah, so. See, folks, nerd. Yeah.
Got it.
And we met... when did we meet? It was years ago.
Oh, it was a long time ago. Well, we met at Brent's that one time when you were down there podcasting with him, and Joel was there.
Joel Turner and Brent Hahn.
Yeah.
Brent Hahn of Valkyrie Archery.
Brent, who's here with us.
Yep.
And Joel was there, and you guys podcasted, and Joel and I did some shot IQ.
That's right.
It was awesome. I sat there and wrote my name a bunch of times on a piece of paper. Worked on some concentration skills and never really shot my bow, which was kind of funny, but...
That's right.
But it's been at least since then.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the first time we met, you came up to Shannon's.
Oh, I think I did.
We podcasted episode
at Shannon's house.
At Shannon's house, yeah.
With all those rosies hanging in the house.
And that one gigantic 393 bull or 392 bull.
I had been following Shannon since the first video that Angry Spike Productions ever put out. And I'd met Corey Miller back then, and that whole crew, I was just kind of watching their DVDs back in the day.
Back when DVDs were cool.
In the day.
When they had DVDs.
I mean, they barely were out of VHS at that point and into DVD. Yep. I mean, I still had some VHS I was running at the time.
Yeah.
So it was a while ago.
Yeah, that was season 2005. So that was clear back then.
That was before the world flipped upside down with
Absolutely.
social media.
Yep. Before it all went to hell in a handbasket.
That's right. And we got Jack Lander, Golden Rosie.
Hey, you pronounced it right.
Yeah?
I love it. Everybody's like, what's a Rosie?
So, Jack, how old are you?
I'm 28.
28. And you've been filming a little bit here and there and making your own movies. And
yeah. Making, at first, it was like chicken scratch. Just shaky footage and bad audio. And this year, I'll probably have some of the best films I've ever got to produce. So, it's been fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're the paid help this year.
I'm the paid help, and I went from getting paid
to owing money.
I'm going to have a broken Sony Handycam as payment, and I will have to pay for it.
Yeah, for folks who don't know, you wrecked Cory's camera on this trip, huh?
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately, Shannon couldn't come down. He had some work stuff that was going to keep him from coming, so I reached out to Jack to see if he'd be willing to come down and help spot and film and see if we could get some content out of this, and so here he is.
Yeah.
And then we got behind the camera here, where you can't see if you're watching this. You don't. There he is. you got Brent Hahn. How are you, Brent?
Doing good. Just down here, finally getting a break and doing some hunting and doing a lot of hunting. Not a lot of other
killing.
Not a lot of killing, but scaring some stuff.
So we're gonna talk a little bit Coues deer. And talk a little archery with the Valkyrie system. Since we got you here, since we're in a camp together, Lampers is off trying to find the mega giant of Arizona tonight, and I'll meet up with him later. But we got Brad Hunt over here without a microphone. Brad and I are the two cameramen for our crew, trying to capture some content. And then Ryan, for Ryan, since Ryan can't run a camera to save his life, it'll be interesting how this week turns out. But I got a javelina tag and I've got a deer tag, and there's all the jackrabbits. Although Ryan told me he's only seen 2 since he's been here. It's been a really dry year.
Yeah, we've only seen 1, and then I've seen a few other regular rabbits, but just 1 jackrabbit, which normally they're all over the place. Yeah,
all over. Yeah. Those small game populations are so dependent on weather, not hunting really. And they say the same thing with waterfowl, upland game, all of that. You have boomer years and crash years, and it has very little to do with hunting pressure outside of what people think. You provide some wetlands and you get the habitat there, and the ducks will boom. Right. You take away wetlands and they'll disappear, and it doesn't. That's why those tag limits and bag limits that you get for deer, for birds and small game are real high. So many per day.
Yeah.
but you can do that in those years where they're just booming.
Right.
Yeah,
I think I think I've seen more coyotes or heard more coyotes down here this year than I have in the past 4 years that we've been here. So I would assume that maybe that has a little something to do with it, but probably more than anything, it's just, lack of feed, lack of water keeps them from reproducing much. And
I imagine it's somewhat like the winter time as well. Harsh winters the predators tend to thrive sometimes during those times because game is weak and it has to expose itself because it doesn't have the feed to hold tight. The weather weakens it, and those predators, the wolves, can take down elk. It's an easier time.
Right.
And I wonder from the coyote perspective, how many rabbits they're able to take and other small game because they're more vulnerable because of the lack of water.
Right.
The coyotes seem to handle the lack of water fine.
Yeah.
But they're also king of the mountain when it comes to walking to any water hole they need to get to.
Yep.
So, and I think a lot of those other critters, they derive their moisture right out of the things they eat, right? And if it's just not there, it's not there. Whereas, a coyote can travel miles to get to the water and then move on.
Right. Yeah, there's like within a few miles of here, there's like 4 different drinkers that they can get to. Mm-hmm. There's one main guzzler that was out past where we were hunting today, but the deer can't use it because it's capped, but all the smaller game can get in underneath of it. But on the backside of this mountain range, there are 3 pretty good sized ones. One of them's a big tower and it's got a leak in it, so it forms a big pond right outside of it. And you see, thousands of tracks moving in and out of that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take far. It's not far for them to go to get to water.
Being in the desert like we are, that water's way underground.
Mm-hmm.
So the way they pipe it up to the surface and get it set up, you're able to hold more animals in this country than you otherwise would without human intervention.
Right.
When I read Arizona news, the game news, I forget the magazine that they send out, the Fish and Game, but you can read about all the ways that they try to increase animal populations here. It is almost all around water.
Right.
Yeah.
Then if they don't have it, it does them no good.
Yeah. But with just a little bit of human engineering,
mm-hmm.
you can have populations booming and not just dying off and rapidly,
Yeah, there's windmill pumps that you see around. It'll be working, and then the one that's out back here that I know of in particular has a solar panel that runs the pump.
Yeah,
and it's got battery. There's an electrical box on the tower.
Yeah,
it's smart for them to do that, and it just pumps the water in. That slow leak coming out, it's prime for critters to be able to actually use it. And there is a actual guzzler next 30 yards away.
Yeah,
but the puddle that's behind the tower
lots
actually
of wildlife
is
in it.
Hidden.
Yeah.
So it's easier for them to get into that. They're not exposed.
Yeah. So you're out there hunting Coues deer this week. Cory, you've done this. How many years in a row is this for you?
This is 4. Yeah. We've done the archery season in January, and then also this last year, Shannon and I came down and hunted during the rifle season on a December tag that we drew. So
I think this is my 4th year.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys came down either the same year or the year after. I can't remember.
I think it was the same year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's an annual thing.
Yep.
It's just it's too fun. The weather's just too nice. And, there are a lot of people. There's a lot of people.
I've seen a lot more people this year, I think, and maybe that has something to do with the increase in hunters, maybe people still being out of work. I don't know exactly what it is. This is we've seen more people on this trip than I have in years past, for sure.
Well, before we get your perspective, let's hear from Jack, because Jack's never done this hunt.
Yeah, first timer.
And, he's kind of stuck with blacktail and Roosevelt's, which is a lot different.
It's way different.
So how do you like the experience so far?
Well, so far, I think I have hiked a total of 300 yards. So it's been pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way different. Back home, you'll spend a whole season and maybe see 5 to 10 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Some years you see more. And we saw more bucks in one morning than I'll see in an entire season. So it was pretty fun.
Makes you start wondering why you hunt Oregon or why you live there.
Yeah, well, it makes me appreciate what I've got, and it makes me appreciate these adventures too.
Yeah.
So just this week's been every time I call my wife at night, she asks how the day was, and I'm like, it was amazing. Like, we saw deer all day, and Cory blew deer out all day.
Yep.
It's been really cool. It's been fun. And yeah, everybody's hunting the mule deer, and we've had the mountain to ourselves. So it's been pretty, I think each day we spent 3 days up there.
Yeah.
There's been one truck that comes up, turns around and leaves.
Yeah.
So Cory's just had the mountain to himself.
You really do. If you come down here and you chase coos, it is not a high. You're not competing with a ton of hunters.
Right.
Some pockets, yes, I've seen more, but in general, it seems like people come down here, they try to hunt coos, they decide it's too hard, and they start trying to kill mule deer instead.
Yep.
And I tell Lambers this: it's because mule deer are easier to kill.
Right.
It's
Way
true,
easier.
man.
They'll stand there and look at you.
They're bigger targets, like the whole deal.
Yeah.
You know,
Bigger antlers, easier to find.
mule deer is the only big one that I've seen that doesn't jump a string. The bucks, they just stand there and take the hit.
Take it.
Like there's a sound and it's flying at me. I'm too curious to move. Thwack.
They lean into it a little bit.
That's right. Where coos deer, I mean, just because you got the arrow off and it was a perfect shot doesn't mean anything. They might move. They might matrix right out of that.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
The nice thing about hunting blacktails is when I see them, they're usually in bow range.
Yes.
You can't sit in glass. You're just still hunting or sitting in a stand. And today, you're looking at deer all day, but
yeah,
Cory's been doing a good job getting close.
Yeah, you've been in 40 yards, 50 yards. What's your closest so far?
Probably this morning I was 40 yards from a nice big heavy, what looked like a giant 2-point with one massive eye guard. And
like a 8 to 10 inch. How?
Yeah, it was
like
probably 10.
eye
Yeah,
guard.
at least 8 inches. I would say the eye guard was one on one side was real long.
I was looking at the video and I'm like, holy smokes!
Yeah.
And it's heavy.
He's
nice
real
buck.
heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, for an archery buck down here, honestly, I'm not holding out for anything. There are a few bucks that I'd rather not shoot. But, I would like to find something that's relatively mature, and a buck like that is just a no-brainer. It's grab your bow and your backpack and start heading in.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to be too picky if something else presents itself.
My take on coos deer is you shoot what is, like not just coos deer, but any deer, any hunt at all. You take what excites you, what speaks to you. And if you're up there and something walks out and that thing's like, you're like, yeah, you do it, and that can change from day to day. It can change from year to year.
Right.
I've killed 2 coos with my bow last year and this year, or last year and the year before. And now I'm like, I kind of want to, and I've killed them in the first few days of the hunt. So now I'm like, I got a week or two if I want to.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to hold out and see if I can kill something much older than what I've done in the past.
Right.
And what I found is I've shot the first buck that I've stalked and got in range of, and 2 years in a row. And now I'm like,
So you don't spook them like Cory.
I stayed, I stayed 10, 10 days after I killed last year and helped my buddy Anthony. And the number of giant bucks that came out of the woodwork that he got to chase for 10 days while I got to watch, I was like dying inside because I'd already tagged out on it. I'm an okay buck, but I mean, not like what he was going after.
Right.
And so this year I'm going to be more selective than I've ever been, but I've done it twice. I've been able to pull it off 2 times in a row. And so I'm like, okay, that's what's going to excite me. I think is that next level,
Right. I think there's areas that are easier to kill them. The area that I'm choosing to hunt right now is probably one of the hardest ones, but it's also one of the ones that you're going to see probably some of the more big mature bucks. It just seems to be a real good breeding area.
Yeah.
So they just have all filed in there. I mean, we've seen some like world-class coos bucks in the last 4 days.
Yeah.
Hunting this area. So it's not going to be easy. There's Ocotillo that, I mean, it looks so open till you get into it and you realize your lanes are nowhere.
Yeah. It's thick where you're at.
Yeah.
Thicker than some of the other country I've hunted because I got to take a peek at it tonight. Brent, have you done this hunt before?
Nope. My first time. Well, I've hunted coos deer before a couple times, but not here with Cory or anything. So
yeah.
But no, everything, when you got the 2 coos in a row and 2 years in a row, And everybody's like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, it's not like that. It's not like that. Because I've hunted them twice, and first year, I mean, they did the old Matrix on me.
Yeah.
Like at 25 yards. Relax, looking the other way.
Yep.
Make a good shot. Buck turns, looks, sees the arrow, and goes, oh, there's an arrow coming at me. And it's just about to nail him. And he just drops and pops up and goes, what was that? I better get out of here.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought
it's that.
It was amazing.
They're amazing. In fact, it's almost like you shoot them under 20 or you shoot them over 50.
Right.
That in between, they're just so jumpy.
If they see it
quick.
coming, it's never going to get them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not. I mean, at least that's been my experience. So.
They're that fast. Yeah. For sure. A little bit of wind helps if you can get some of that. And
or a lot.
A
lot of wind. We've had a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've also seen that the bigger the buck, the less likely they are to jump a string.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not dainty anymore.
Right.
They're not. They're a little more stout, and they just don't seem to have those flinchy, lightning fast moves like the smaller, younger critters or the does do.
Yeah. Yeah. And this year's, I think, exceptionally dry from what I've experienced in the past. So it's loud. Walking around is noisy.
Mm-hmm.
I wear those sneaker stalker things on my boots, and it's still crunchy. I was texting with Randy today, and he's like, it is dry. But Marcus killed a buck, so they must have did something right. So
did he?
Yeah.
With his bow?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's what he said.
Because I know they got in December. They both got rifle bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Coues deer. That's kind of my thing too. I have enough points so I could come and hunt rifle.
Yeah.
Coues. And a pretty good unit, a couple different ones. But that's another thing. If I don't tag out in January, the thing about Arizona is I can apply for one of those tags and draw a great rifle hunt. So do I want to use up my, but archery is just so fun. I hate to, it's one thing to be able to do it with your bow. That means something, even if the animal's not as old or big. And so,
that's what Chen and I did this last year. We shot javelina last January. We did not kill Coues deer. So we put in for the rifle draw, used that same tag and license, and picked December dates and came down and hunted the rifle hunt. It was fun. It wasn't the same, though.
I know.
The satisfaction after you shoot one's not nearly the same.
Right.
And the activity of the animals isn't the same.
Those Coues deer, those giants, they lay low, man.
Yep.
I've heard it's such a tough hunt for rifle because they're not rutting, so they're not up and moving, and it can be a tedious hunt.
Yeah, we had a hard time turning up what we would consider to be decent bucks.
Mm-hmm. Whereas right now they're popping out of the woodwork.
And every one of them. I mean, most of the big bucks that we're seeing right now would dwarf the one that I killed in December, and it was a nice buck. You'd be happy to shoot it with your bow. Yeah, I was happy to shoot it with my rifle, just primarily because we only had 4 days to hunt. But
there's something to be said for days to hunt because I hunt different because I have time.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, if I don't get them today, I'll get them tomorrow. If I don't get them tomorrow, I'll get them the next day. When you're on a time crunch, you're like, well, I'm going to move in and I'm going to give it my best, and maybe I'll blow them out, maybe I won't, but I don't have time to watch this buck for 6 more days before it gives me that chance, But
or to just scout for a few days.
Yeah.
4-day hunt, you don't have that opportunity. That's why we came right to the same spot that we've hunted in the past. And right now, unfortunately, I'm a Saturday to a Friday, so I don't have a lot of time to waste.
Yep.
Luckily, all the bucks that I've found, there hasn't been any like, well, he's not very big, I'm just going to sit here. There's several of them that I'm like, all right, I'm gone.
I've found that to be the case with Coues deer and everywhere I go. This time of year in Arizona. Like I can find them almost everywhere. That's why I say I think it's crazy more people don't chase the Coues deer because you want a spot and stock whitetail hunt in 65-degree weather in January. I mean,
tell me it gets any better than that, really.
I mean, every day you've had stocks, right?
Every day, multiple a day too. Yeah, because once you blow out one, you're smart to just sit and let things kind of settle for a little while and just turn around and start glassing down. It gives a different perspective than maybe if you've got a spotter down low looking back up the hill.
Yeah.
And you're usually able, one of the two of you will find another deer to go after. It's just a matter of time. 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they start getting active again. A couple does get up, start moving. Next thing you know, there's a buck coming in. So it gives you a lot of opportunity if you want to. put your skills to the test, which is, I understand why Lampers wants to hunt mule deer, because this is a tough hunt.
I can't really throw that in his face because he shot a Booner Coues deer his first year here, on day 3 or something.
And he probably still thought it was small.
But I did get to watch him hunt, and since then I've hunted with him plenty. And he's just a patient man. He is methodical and slow. And when you think you're being methodical and slow, you're not. Not like this guy is methodical and slow. And I think that's what it takes to kill. I mean, it's almost like he's not moving. He's so slow and methodical. And I think, and then usually what he's uncanny good at predicting what it's going to do and being there. The first time he was on the buck, it actually wasn't the buck he killed. I watched him stalk a buck for a couple days in a row, and he was actually set up to kill that particular buck when the buck he actually killed came in and ran him off moments before, and he ended up killing this other one. But I watched him, and he got to within like 85 yards, and then he just sat there. And I was like, dude, you sat there like 2 hours. Like, you should have gotten to 40.
Right.
And he's like, Brian, that extra 40 yards to where I wanted to get, you know how many things could go wrong right there? He's like, I just hope they came to me. I'm like, well, that's a big hope. I mean, what if you don't have the days? He's like, I got the days. I'll stay here 21 days if I have to. That buck's going to be mine. Well, that's a different mindset than most people have, right?
Yeah.
But when you start to see the effectiveness of it, it starts to change how you hunt.
Well, that's what I was planning on doing with that buck this evening. That when you guys saw me, is we knew he would likely bet it in a certain area, and so I mean, I wanted to basically do what Ryan does and just wait. I had 15, 20 minutes until the sun went behind the mountains, and I was going to let that buck do exactly what he wanted to do, which was hopefully stand up and just kind of move out comfortably and present me an opportunity. And I think Ryan probably does that as good as anybody that I've ever seen. Obviously video and talking with him and, his cousin Joey and other people that I know that have watched him hunt. And it's something that he does that not a lot of people do. Just let it come to him, where we always try to be the hunter and try to go to what it is that we're after.
Absolutely.
And more times than not, it'll fail, So then you have to reevaluate your approach, slow down a little bit, and start.
Plus, he knows you're there now,
right?
And Ryan will go back to the same buck over and over, and he'll be in the same spot doing the same thing each day because it never knew he was there. Even if the wind, he'll just watch it all day from 200 yards, 300 yards, and he'll just keep waiting for that weather to switch or for something to happen or that buck to put himself in a killable spot.
Right. I think he learned a lot of that hunting in Washington for our mule deer hunts that he would do up there, finding that one buck in a position where he could kill it was a challenge in that state. It's a really hard state to hunt for giant, mature mule deer, and he killed them consistently doing that.
And there's a lot of people who kill regularly who do it completely opposite. They just they blow deer out and then they go find a different one.
Right.
They blow that one out and they go find that next one, and that are very successful too. But I do enjoy, kind of targeting the one.
Yeah, he wants the one.
Yep. I feel sorry for animals that he's decided he wants.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, he'll relocate them. That one buck I think he watched last year, the same one he didn't kill the first year. He got back on that buck for, I think, 4 days on and off. He'd go a couple of days, not find him. Then he'd find him again. He's like, oh, I found him, Brian. And he started to piece together where this buck would spend his days. And I'm like, he's going to tighten that noose over a 20-day window and kill that buck. But he ended up seeing a mule deer instead and killed it. A giant.
Yeah, that big mule deer he killed last year.
Yeah. And I'm like, now he's got mule deer on the brain.
Right.
It'll be hard to pull him onto a Coues deer now.
Yeah. That man is addicted
to mule deer.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So what do you think is the hardest part for you up here, chasing the Coues deer? What's the one thing you're contending with the most?
Well, noise and cover, because you don't have much. Most of the bushes around here, I'm 6'3", and they're not nearly as tall as I am. So on certain hillsides, you stand out like a sore thumb. I think that's probably it. With the lack of rut activity that we have right now isn't helping either, because a lot of times these deer will be very active chasing does, and when, as you know, they're not looking for predators, they're paying attention to what they're chasing. They're more susceptible to make a mistake,
Right.
And if you can, even though you've got more eyes to compete with, if you watch a buck that's after a hot doe, if you can just keep an eye on her, you can generally figure out roughly what they are going to do or what he's going to do once she gets up. So, targeting that environment, I think a lot of times can help, but we're not experiencing that yet. Today's the 13th or something like that. It just doesn't feel like the rut's kicked in. So I think, targeting these deers, because that sounds awesome. Deers. Yeah, we're down here catching. Targeting these deer the way that I do, I don't try to, I'm not going to sit water. I just don't have it in me to sit water. I'd rather blow 50 stalks in a week than shoot one coming into
the thing about water, too, I've thought about sitting on water, but I'd only do it if it was peak rut and a doe comes in, brings a buck with her. I just don't think that the thing about the water is when animals come into water in areas like this, they're so switched on.
Oh, yeah, high alert.
They're so ready for you.
Yeah.
That it's really tough to kill an animal when it is that wired tight and ready to spring. They got to escape lions and things like that around here.
Yeah.
They know the drill. And so I don't like it. I prefer, just because of the nature of them dodging arrows, and waters, I found like spot and stock opportunities out here can be a couple a day on Coues deer. And I just feel like, why not hone those skills? You may not get a Coues deer, but those skills will transfer to so many other hunts that you do over the years. How many hunts do you get to do where you get to find a deer and go after, one or two a day?
Right.
I learned a lot chasing in open country with a bow and arrow, mule deer in Alberta. The couple of times I was able to go up there and hunt. And 2, 3, 4 stalks in one day, you learn a lot quickly when you get that many opportunities to chase critters. And then when that happens out in a 5-day window, you're like, you learn a lot about what you can do and can't do. And
we took, Shannon and I hunted axis deer in Hawaii on Lanai this last February, right before the whole COVID thing happened. And one of the very first comments we made when we were over there was, everything that we do chasing Coues deer is going to apply here because they act very similar. They're super edgy animals. They're very, very quick. They don't allow you to make a mistake and get close. You kick a rock, they're gone. Yep. You drag through a tree branch, they're gone. So everything we do here translates over to what we did there. That's probably why we were able to have as many opportunities at shooting at deer over there. We were averaging about 2 shots a day. Doesn't mean we killed that many deer, but we were averaging a bunch of shots a day.
But that right there, like I said, gives you so much experience. It's valuable.
And then it's super easy after you hunt Coues deer and axis deer to then take those skills and
kill a mule deer.
Go to mule deer, exactly. It's like shooting a fish in a barrel.
Dude, after chasing Coues deer for a few years and then switching to mule deer over here, I was like,
yeah. You almost want them to start running just so there's a challenge. You're like, just don't stand there and look at me while I shoot you and get out of here.
Well,
every mule deer is a 4-point too.
Right? Those old bucks are not, they're not as easy to do in some of those old does, but in general, the mule deer are a different critter. They just have a different disposition. Right. And when you hunt them, they're just a little easier to sneak up on. They're just less switched on.
Yeah.
Less jumpy.
Yeah, Brent brought his longbow down, and he was going to attempt to use that the first couple of days, and I think after he's seen some of this, he switched back over to the compound pretty quick.
To the compound, yep. Got that thing sighted in because it's super noisy too where we're hunting. So the chance of you getting in super tight, it can happen, but it's
tough.
Super tough. Especially when the wind's not blowing and they're not.
Speaking of which, I've used that Garmin Zero. Shameless plug there. That sight is handy for Coues deer.
It'd be super handy.
It is just unbelievably handy because they're a tiny target, so you almost need single pin accuracy from 35 yards and on. Like you're trying to aim at an antelope or cantaloupe, or like a tiny, melon-sized target kill zone, and that's tough. And so,
well, and trying to get a range through what you're getting through, and then just the motion.
You don't have time
bringing
to
your
range and
rangefinder
dial.
up. Boom. No, you gotta. Yeah, you just gotta kind of hope
when they rut. And that's kind of how I took advantage of my first Coues deer. But you can come to full draw as you see them chasing. Mm-hmm. You're already there, and they come running by you at 15 yards because they're just chasing. And you'd never be able to guess some of that. Maybe they run to 15 and they jog out to 30, and then they're back at 25, and you're just like. And the whole time, I just range with the Garmin.
Right.
As soon as he stops, I let go of the button, drops me the exact pin I need, and I stroke it. And it's like, you can get away. It's just it adds so much fun to this hunt, having the zero for me.
Especially when you shoot him out of a tree.
Yeah, that first year, I climbed into a tree.
You can't range when you're sitting up in your tree. Trying to use your rangefinder would be tough.
Yeah. Well, again, that buck, I knew I was within 40 yards, thinking maybe I was within 20 of the buck. And it taken me forever to get in position. He was bedded right next to a doe, and they hadn't got up and left. And I knew that because Brinker was across the way glassing, and he texted me on the phone. He said, "They're still right there. He's right in front of you." So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, I know he's here, but those things bed down, they disappear.
Yeah.
So, there was no way to get where I could get a shot, and I knew once he stood up, I don't know, I didn't know where he was going to pop up, and there was a little tree there in front of me, pretty stout little tree that opened up, and there was like a little spot where a platform kind of on this tree where if I stepped on that, and I had my knee against the other limb, I could like gain a foot of height.
Yeah.
So I'd
be my height.
Stepped up there. Yeah, exactly. I stepped up there, and then I was looking around. I didn't see it. And so then I repositioned my arm and my leg, and I straddled two branches, and I kept the bow with my release hand on it. Mm-hmm. And as I shimmied up to the next spot, I shifted into position, and I had a real stable. Each time I moved, I was like, okay, if I'm going to inch higher up this tree, I need to be able to draw and shoot.
Right.
But the tree was such I could sit back and lean on one and push my leg here. And I was like, okay, so I slowly, stood up, and he stands up, but they're knee high. Mm. So at their back. So you're like, when I saw him stand up, I thought he was like 38 yards because they look so far away.
Yeah.
Because you've never seen one on the ground. You don't realize how little they are.
Right.
So I just saw whitetail. He looked far away, and he's looking right at me. And I learned from the previous year being in bow range like 4 or 5 times on bucks. I was like, well, like a blacktail or a mule deer, or an elk even. Not so much with elk as much as like a mule deer and a blacktail. You can kind of just draw real slow, and it's like they're just mesmerized. They're too curious. Mm-hmm. You get the bow back. You can kind of move it over there real slow. And as long as the movements are really slow, they let you do it. Coues deer and elk, they don't really do that. Elk start to see something, they're like, confirmed, there's something there I don't like. They're gone. Whitetails, gone. So I had learned that you don't get away with that. I blew a bunch of them. So I was like, I sat there with the bow in my hand. I just thought to myself, well, there's no point in trying to draw slow. You tried that last year, and it was a waste. Right. So you can just sit here, and maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe he'll turn his head the other way. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there for quite a while, my arm on the release, and I'm leaning against the tree, I'm cramping a little bit as you do, and you're breathing, your heart's going, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. I'm like, come on, dude. This is crazy. He is locked. He's looking at this dude in a tree, and I still don't know how far away he is. It turns out he's like 22 yards. So close. I didn't know, so that buck is just looking. And then for some reason, he jerks his head and looks downhill. the opposite direction as me. And I was like, whoo! I drew that bow so fast. And when the bow came back, I hit the branches with my elbow in the back, But he flipped around and turned around, and all he saw was nothing.
The same thing.
The same thing. And I was like, oh, you're dead now, because I got a Garmin 0. And I just ranged him, and it said 22. And I ranged again, and I ranged again. I'm like, and it said 22. And I'm like, I would swear to you, it's like 35, 40 yards, but I'm going to trust the sight. I've done that once before where I questioned my rangefinder. That's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
So I let the pin drop, and I smoked him. And I'm like, all of that I could do because I didn't have to. I know I'd have shot over him if I was guessing.
Does that have a like a first and last setting on it where it'll pick up the furthest away object or the nearest object on that the Garmin 0? It doesn't. Yeah, I think one of the things I've found down here is kind of to your point too, is trying to range things even just with the regular rangefinder. There's not a lot of actual things to range. So trying to get something that's a solid object to get your range on is tough. And through the Ocotillo and things like that, if the deer is on the other side of it and you have an opportunity with your rangefinder to have like a first or last setting, then you can hit what's through the Ocotillo. Otherwise, you might pick something up that's 15. So like I'm running the Vortex, the Razor 4000, and it has a first and last setting on it. And luckily, some of the deer that I've attempted to range while I was doing that, you could do that. But
so it gives you a range. It's like this and this.
No, it'll just tell you. It'll just pick up the last object that you're looking at rather than the first object, the front object.
I see.
That can be really beneficial down here because a lot of the stuff doesn't have anything that's a solid enough body to actually range, especially if you're hunting in some of the open grassy areas like further south where you guys have hunted in the past. Big rolly grass hills. I mean, what are you going to, you can range the ground basically or where the tall grass is, but that's not a real accurate measurement of where your deer might be bedded.
Right.
So that can be a real challenge where with that, the Garmin 0, once they do stand up, now you're not having to do this range, put it back down and then draw your bow. You can just
typically what I do if I have the luxury is I range. I'm very good at ranging with it just in my hand, like a normal rangefinder. Right. So I'll hold it right there and just go and just buzz the target with my bow. And I'll just sit there and I'm like, okay, I'll get my pin dropped. So it's already there. And I'm like, okay, when he stands up,
then
I already have
to do anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to sit there and try to scan him at full draw when I'm shaking like a, lead.
Lead shake. There's some other things shake.
Like a cat.
Like a cat crapping razor blades. Yeah. So I like that setup. It does lend itself, I think, to a lot of fun. Plus, you can do the same thing with jackrabbits on the walk, a coyote, javelina. I don't have to really worry about the rangefinder and the dial and all that kind of stuff. I like having that single pin accuracy too.
Yeah.
So for this hunt, it just makes it more fun.
Yeah.
Removes.
There's definitely a benefit to it down here.
It takes some getting used to, and you will, just like any site, you'll range the wrong stuff. I was out here trying to range that target, but I've gotten very good just walking around and then shooting and doing 3D and gotten really good at ranging objects that were before, next to, above. Often I don't range what I'm shooting at. I come to full draw and there's a cactus right in front of it. I'm ranging that cactus because it's easier to range. It's bigger. And it's at roughly the same. It's 37 yards or 57 yards. It's like, boom, and then I put it right on the animal and shoot it.
Right.
And I found that works really well.
So how do you range if you don't draw your bow through the 0?
You just
hold it up like you're shooting?
there's a reticle inside the 0, and I just let it lean against my waist, and I just line up the reticle and I just scan.
Okay.
So it's just like my rangefinder.
You don't have to look at it perfectly through the peep?
Nope.
Okay.
No, because there's a circle and a dot that when those two are lined up, anywhere you put the dot, it's giving you the range.
Okay.
So that's how you line it up without having to look.
So you can just do it without
peep.
drawing, so you can just range whatever. Okay.
Yep. So it takes a little getting used to, and sometimes a different bow will have something in the way, like your cable arm there that deflector.
See one of
You kind of have to move the string out of the way, or
Okay.
different bows. I've had different, but like right now with my RX4, I just get it. It's quick, easy. They've all been easy to get the hang of it. Now I'm really fast with it because I use it on any hunt I can. This year when I was hunting elk, could have done it there too, because that I was trying to kill this bull, and I've said this for a while now. If I have the 0, I can tag out in 3 days. If I don't have it, I can tag out in 10. I'm still going to tag out.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little longer because, like, for example, this year when that bull came up this little draw every day, he came up somewhere between 58 yards and 70 yards in this gap, in this little funnel. He'd walk by there every day with about 40 cows. Well, it's really tempting when he comes through there to cow call to get him to stop. A couple times he stood there. I ranged him, dialed, came to full draw, and the tree's kind of above him and to his side. But he just before I released, he walked on. He went on chasing more cows. I knew it was just a matter of time before he finally gave me that moment where I had enough time to range, dial, and draw and shoot and all that. I was comfortable with the shot, but I was only going to take it if I knew. I don't like guessing. I don't like guessing whether he's 60 or 70.
Right.
I don't like pin gapping, so then I'd have to settle on a pin like 65, and then I have to aim high or aim low. I just haven't had very great success with that. And as long as he didn't know I was there and I never wounded him, I was confident I would get the moment right, and I'd smoke him. So that was the goal. And man, I could have killed him every day if I had the 0.
Right.
Because the problem is when you do stop him in an opening like that, I could certainly come to full draw and stop him next to a tree that I thought was 65 yards. I had a few markers out there. That's 65. That's 70. That's 55. That's 50. That's 60. But then trying to keep that all straight as he's walking through,
Right.
do my math, call him, get him to stop, and then go, okay, he's by that tree. He's 60. Put this pin here. It's awful.
Tough. Yeah.
So, and the problem with the wind, it would switch and roll different ways because of the thermals in the morning, because they're coming back from their feeding and they're on their way to their bedding, and I was intercepting them in between. Well, the wind's in their face, but I'm up on a slope and there's this directional that would come across, and even though it would blow up my back, it blew over the top because I was like 30 feet above them on a bluff. So it's sort of like being in the right tree stand for blacktails is sort of things you figure out when you hunt blacktails or you hunt rolling hills, and you kind of learn like, when I sit here, the deer walk within bow range, but the wind is blowing toward them. How is that? And you figure that out, and I use that tactic on elk all the time because you start to experiment a little bit and you realize, if I stay here, as long as I don't drop 10 yards lower down this hill,
Right.
I can sit here every day, be within 50 yards or 60 yards of this bull, and I'll smoke him. But if you call him when he steps in that opening, what do? You kind of got to you give yourself away.
Your range, yeah.
And so all those cows look at you, every elk does. What? They all look at you, and you got to capitalize or they're all gone. And I've done that before where I'm like, stop them. The bull doesn't stop, but 6 cows do. And the bull keeps running around, and you're like, oh, crap. And then they're just looking. They're like, there's no elk there. And then they all bark and leave, and then you're done. Now you got to go find a new spot, a new setup, or whatever. With the 0, I'd have been at full draw on day 1.
Right.
And when he came through there, I went, yeah, or bugled, whatever, doesn't matter. And he'd have froze, looked at me, I'd have got a pin, I'd have smoked him. It'd been over. But instead, I was there like 7 days.
That
8
takes
days.
all the fun out of it, though, Brian. You got to earn it.
Oh, no. I think a lot of people, the truth is, Jack, is a lot of people they don't have the discipline to not shoot. So they'd have shot, and they might have scored.
Yep.
They might have punched that bull at 65, 70, whatever, and they might have done, I might have. I don't know. But I think often they wound him.
Yeah.
Hit him too high, hit him too low.
On a guess.
They guess, because that's what you're left with is a guess.
Right.
And after hunting with Ryan, I'm kind of like with rifles even. We really don't take shots that we're not almost 100% sure we're going to make. Otherwise, we just get a better shot.
Right.
And as long as that animal doesn't know you're there and you're patient, you're going to get that shot, the unmissable shot.
Right.
So get the unmissable shot. Yeah. And I try to gamble. Nowadays, I tell people all the time, gamble on the stock, not the shot. Mm-hmm. I'd rather stay in the game a little longer and try to get that unmissable shot. Then I think most guys are like, well, I'm 70. This is my moment. The odds of you making the shot are 20%, 30%. Or you could stay in the game for 4 or 5 days and get, a 90% success shot. Yeah. So I tell myself nowadays, don't gamble on the shot itself, gamble on the stock. Because if you can make it so you get that 90% chance shot, you're going to walk away with a dead animal.
Right. And
as long as you don't blow it and you're still in the game, there's a good chance that you're going to get that shot. Mm-hmm. I remember years ago, I can't remember who I was talking to. A friend of mine said, he was telling me the cone of variables goes way down when the closer you get. And most guys shoot too soon. They get to 60 and they're like, I can make that shot.
Right.
But you could have got 30.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one because years ago I had a mentor tell me, take the first shot you can make. And I'm like, well, that takes some self-awareness.
Right. Yeah.
Because I can make a 70, 80-yard shot on the foam target out here. But can I do that on the buck of my dreams?
Live animal, yeah. Yeah. I think it's very species-specific to those two theories, depending on what you're hunting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times with elk, especially if you're hunting them during archery season and you're calling them in, you'll see a lot of guys will take that very first shot that they have where if they just are patient and let the elk come, let them come, that opportunity can be a 10-yard shot rather than a 45 or 55 or 65-yard shot because they want to take the first opportunity shot that they have, which many times, even if a bull hangs up and you're just standing there and he doesn't really know what you are, if he gets curious, he will continue to come in. So let him come as far as he will. With deer, I think it's maybe different. I think that one might be more of a take the first shot that you feel very comfortable with, because they might not ever. They don't come to you very often.
Yeah.
So if you find a comfortable shot, and it's all practice, it's all what you do. And the more you hunt, as in the last 7-8 years since I've known you, it's gotten the amount of time that you can put into the hunt and work on these skills, what you're capable of doing. Yep. The Weekend Warriors is probably a completely different story. But it really comes from experience of knowing what you're capable of doing. And that's hunting everything. I hunt as much as, there's 2 months out of the year that I'm hunting something.
Yeah.
Right. So through all those experiences, you learn, okay, this is what I'm capable of doing. I know what my limitations are.
Yeah.
I just have to be cognizant of that in the moment.
I agree. I'm more aware of my limitations now than I've ever been in my life.
100%.
And I've got the most experience. I'm the most capable than I've ever been in my life.
And still know what those limitations are.
Well, and I know they're a lot lower than I used to think.
Right.
They're a lot lower. Like I know what my limits are when a giant buck comes in. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I was out there shooting tonight. I went out 66 on a tiny little block target. That thing seemed small at 66 yards, and I got these dang expensive Valkyrie arrows. So you don't want to lose those.
Spendy.
Spendy suckers. And so here I am.
Don't pull a jack.
Yeah. So there I am, like just burying them in there at 66. And I'm like, they're all in the little green center every time. And I'm like, that's great. And I can do that here. But
when the heart rate's
going, that may not be a possibility. Mm-hmm. And I'm fully aware of that. But there are times when I find myself there going, I'm oddly calm. And I'm like, I know that I can stack them in the plate. Mm-hmm. And my heart rate and I feel good about this. I've had time. Brad, I think, watched me last year shoot my buck. And he was bedded. I got it all figured out. I had some time sitting there watching this deer, and I figured out where I needed to put that arrow to make sure I hit the vitals, because bedded, it's tricky. So I got all ready, came to full draw, and I was going to shoot that deer. And the adrenaline I was shaking.
Yeah.
And I did the Joel Turner, kind controlled shooting. And I was like, this ain't going to end well. And I let down.
Yeah.
And I collected myself a little bit. The wind kind of died down for a sec because it was gusting pretty good. Came back to full draw. And that time I was dead calm and I stroked it and it was great. But you got to know your limits. And my furthest shot on an animal was 92 it was Montana mule deer. But I had been able to shoot all day, every day, you know, in the afternoons and stuff. I was sharp. That's how I do it here too. The whole time I'm glassing in the morning or in the afternoon, like I shoot a lot. By the time I've been here 6 days, I'm like Robin Hood, man. Like you're just fresh.
Yeah.
And I love that. I shoot a lot when I'm here till I'm just on it, you know, so that when that moment comes, I'm really confident because I've been shooting tons of arrows down range each day. You get sharper and sharper. Yeah. And then I felt good about a 92-yard shot because, you know, and it's funny, I had some big bucks within 80 and 85 every day.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's not far enough. On the last day, on the last night, I'm like, you're not missing. And I felt confident I could have made that shot all week. But I was like, I'm not going to take that shot. I think I could probably get something better. So let's just wait. But when it was the last hours on the last day, I'm like, okay, I went out that night and I told John Barklow, who was with me from Sitka, I was like, John, that thing steps out and it's under 95. I'm killing it. And he's like, well, okay,
right.
You know? So went out there and sure enough, 92, dialed, smash.
Yeah.
But I had been hitting that target like that in camp, so I was very comfortable with the shot out there and executed it almost identically the same, and it was great. Such a good feeling.
Yeah, I don't get nervous about taking the shot as much as I get nervous about something happening through the process where I wound the animal. That's what I get the most nervous about, is wounding an animal and watching it run off. Not because I did something wrong, but maybe because it did something right, you know.
Right.
Or this is going to sound really weird, but I've got this, and this is a shameless plug for Brent, but I have this extra level of confidence in my equipment shooting the heavy Valkyrie setup that I feel like, oh, that little tree branch, that it's not going to matter, right?
Right.
And in reality, it does. You know, even some of the smaller branches, your deflections are minimized, but still, if you hit something, you end up, you know, shooting an elk or one of these deer in the back leg or in the hip or something. That's what I get nervous about.
Yeah, I think about that too. One thing I often think about though is when it comes to an elk or a deer, any animal with a bow, they can always dodge. They can always flinch. They can always do something. You can't control that.
No.
You can read body language. You know, you can be like, but I've seen animals just sit there when you shoot and just take it. And I've seen animals dodge. You can't predict that. And what I have found is usually they don't dodge.
Right.
Usually if you make a good shot, if you're making a good shot, you hit. But with Coues deer, I've seen they might whirl. They still get a fatal hit. You know, they might move and it goes like sideways or they'll jump right into your arrow.
Right.
And it's a little bit of the Wayne Gretzky thing going on here. Every shot you don't take, you can't make.
Right.
So I think there has to be a balance between, you know, gambling,
right,
but doing, you know, trying to get that unmissable shot.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes it's not going to work out.
Nope.
Well, like you said, risk it on the stock, not the shot. And so, yeah, if you're dialed and you can shoot that far, and you know it in your heart, you can shoot that far. That's different than me in college. Like, oh, I can shoot this far all the time, and then I wound an elk because it's like,
right.
Oh, it was 70 yards, and then now I'm like, I shouldn't have shot that far. But in the moment,
right.
Like you said, you get the adrenaline pumping and you're excited. So I like what you said about risk it on the stock, like get closer. And I mean, the whole point of hunting, yeah, it's really nice to be successful, but how cool is it when you can have a buck at 8 yards and he doesn't
right.
know you're there? Like that's really dang fun to get close.
Yeah.
That's part of the experience.
Yeah, it's awesome when you got a bull breathing. You can see the smoke coming out, and you think he's going to run you over because he's 8 steps away. And
well, it's really humbling to see someone like Ryan Lampers won the Train to Hunt, I don't know, in Nevada or something, and he podiumed a few times. And that's when I first met Ryan, back when he was doing that the first few times. And I've shot in 3Ds with Ryan at Train to Hunt, and then in the actual event. And I saw him make shots, shoot well with his bow. And and I shot well too. We were comparable, but then I'd see Ryan in a shootable. I've seen him shoot. I know he can make that shot, and yet he chooses not to. He chooses to get much closer. He doesn't shoot very many animals with a bow at range. Even an elk, which is a pretty big target, most of his shots are, I would guess, 30 and under. Mm-hmm. So when you see that, you're like, well, there's more room for growth. At the same time, I know people that are far less sneaky, but are some of the best archers I've ever seen.
Right.
And those guys, 70 and 80 yards, they're just dialed. Their bow's dialed, their gear's dialed, their shot is. And they're probably not going to be able to get within the stealthy range. Mm-hmm. But they make up for it with their shooting ability.
Right.
So I just think it's a personal decision that each person makes. I still contend that the best thing to do, though, is to gamble on the stock as much as you can, and try to get a shot that's really good for you.
Yeah.
And I don't shoot like in the past. When I was with Joel Turner, I remember him telling me, it's so hard for guys when they come to full draw to then let down. Mm-hmm. It's like once they're at full draw, it's like they have to shoot.
Right.
It's like a compulsion.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized I kind of did that, it was kind of surprising.
Yeah. Yep.
And so the same thing would happen on an animal, right? Like you're at full draw, so you got to send it, right? Even though they've just moved or done something that's not ideal. And, no, the right thing to do is to let down and regroup. So nowadays I'm much more about that, in fact, this year on some elk, I came to full draw and I'm like, if it feels good, I'm going to do this. I'm at full draw. I don't even know for sure if I'm going to shoot or not. Right. I'm getting everything dialed and I'm pulling. I'm like, no, I don't think I can make this. Things aren't right. And I let down and I didn't shoot that bull.
Yeah. I think when you do let down, it calms the nerves, like you were saying earlier on your Coues deer. It gives you the opportunity to regroup, kind of regather your brain, and like, okay, why am I breathing so heavy? Right? One of those kinds of things. Why is my heart rate so high? Mm-hmm. And it just settles everything down, and you can really kind of get back into your own brain rather than just running on the adrenaline of like, drawing your bow is easy, getting on the animal is easy, but then your eyes feel like they're bulging out of your head, and the animal, you're looking through your sight, your peep, and the animal's just this little tiny thing in there, and your sight's like this big around it because you're so focused on that thing, and you're like, I shouldn't be doing this,
Right.
I need to really focus on seeing my pins through my peep, centering everything up. So letting down gives you that opportunity to, all right, collect yourself.
Yep, okay. Absolutely.
Now,
if you have that luxury.
Right.
I've found that, too, that I've got when I'm at full draw and I've got everything, most of my shot is kind of dialed, but when I'm back there, I do have one thing I tell myself, which is hold. Yeah, watch it to keep it was something I used to say to myself because Joel, but I found that for me, or it was pull. But for me, for some reason, hold just makes more sense. It just works for me. What I remember Joel telling me years ago, and Brent, maybe you can relate to this, I don't know, but he would say most guys shoot like 1 second too soon. Mm-hmm. They shoot just a 1 or 2 seconds too soon. If right when you want to punch it, you actually stop and go 1/1000 and then shoot, you're probably actually there. Mm-hmm. It's probably actually going to be in the pocket. And I found that is 100% for me. That when I'm like feeling the urge, send it now, and I don't. Instead, I go hold, and I hold way past the moment where that pin is buried in my target, and then I send it, I have an uncanny accuracy. But I just think I sent it too soon. I wasn't quite there, and I was so anxious to do it and get the relief and to send it so now it's kind of a thing in my psyche to just hold it beyond what is needed.
Yeah. And
I settle more before the shot goes.
Right.
Do you do that, Brent? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have similar, yeah. And it's the second thing too, but when I draw on an animal, I always, in my mind, I say, if I was going to shoot this animal, what would it look like? Or what would my shot look like? And I draw and I go, okay, I'm not going to shoot. But if I was going to shoot, that would be perfect right about there. And then I frickin' shoot them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I talk myself, I'm not shooting them until I shoot them.
Yeah.
And that way it works awesome. I mean, my shots have hit. I'm running a lot of Joel stuff too, I have a grip clicker and stuff too that I used. But before that, I used to hit right around where I was aiming.
Yeah, yeah.
Somewhere in there. And on close ones, I always say I just stuff it in there. But after running it, thinking that process through, as long as you can remember that, for me, it works for me. Mm-hmm. My arrow hits exactly where I'm aiming.
Yeah.
And so that's been a big help for me. And it was from Joel's teachings. I would have never even thought of it myself.
Yeah. For me, it's two things. It's pick a spot and then hold. Because, and when I mean pick a spot, I mean really pick a spot. Pick a spot, and then it's hold. It's hold it on that spot at all costs. Mm-hmm. At all costs, hold it on that spot. And then the arrow just kind of goes eventually. It's like, oh, it's gone. The arrow's gone. Yeah. And I kill more animals nowadays with my bow than I ever used to.
Right. Yeah, shooting's funny. Shooting on animals is funny. There's so many different ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And every opportunity you get is unique and different. So it's not, you can't just say, shooting on targets fine and dandy, but shooting on a critter is completely
the thing
different.
That's annoying about it is this: it's shooting on a live animal with all the adrenaline. I can make a 40-yard shot all day. There's not a time I can't make that shot on that target over there. There's not a time I can't make that shot.
Right.
So why is it so damn difficult when it's a big buck? Why does it all of a sudden melt down?
It's hard to not want to look at the antlers and assess the animal you're looking at, and that's, I think picking the spot is probably one of the most important things from that aspect, because if you just glanced at the animal and you're like, it's a shooter, now focus on what it is that you really want to shoot at.
Yeah.
Not just the deer. I don't want to shoot. I want to shoot at the deer, but I want to shoot at this particular point on the animal. Yeah. And depending on what it's giving you for shot opportunities is going to be completely different. That's why I love 3D shooting, because you get those different angle opportunities to shoot at stuff.
You really do have to picture the exit hole.
Right.
And there's a lot of animals they've killed this year where I'm like, man, I didn't know he was quartering that hard one way or another. Even with a gun, I'm like, whoa, that went in here and went out there. Yep. That's kind of a big deal,
Yeah, that's what happened to my elk in Oregon. I didn't know how hard he came when he came in, how hard he was quartered to the left. Mm-hmm. It's the only shot that I had was that it was a 4-yard frontal, but I only had the inside of his front right shoulder, and it wasn't. I don't know if it was a lethal shot or not. Mm-hmm. I would have loved to think that the bull survived, but knowing what I saw after the fact on video, I would have never taken that shot, even at 4 yards. I'd have just sat there and held it until he moved his head, and then I would have shot him where I needed to.
Right.
If I would have been able to visually figure out where his body was. And the Oregon coast, big sword ferns, he comes in, you can't really see the body. So you take what was given, and I took the wrong shot.
Yep.
It happens.
And that's the thing. You're trying to make that assessment on the fly. It's tough.
Well, and at 4 yards is harder than looking at an animal that's at 60 yards and you have a little bit of time to assess what you're doing.
4 yards is so baffling, too, because you're like using, a 70-yard pin or something, and like everything flips upside down on you. It's like, that's a strange, it happens. So I'm kind of stoked because I've got these mechanicals for these Coues deer that Brent you're selling.
I have too. I brought them.
Yeah,
for the Coues. We brought them in for turkeys, but they'll be great for antelope or Coues deer too.
I figure, right? Because they're just such small deer. And now I have a pretty heavy front of center, 180 grain, setup with that mechanical head. Mm-hmm. I just think I'm gonna, be able to put. Like, how wide is that?
It's 2-inch cut.
Yeah, 2-inch cut.
Well, and the lead to cut on contact tip's 3/4 of an inch.
Yes, which is nice because if it doesn't deploy or something, you've got a lethal head.
Right, and it still doesn't. They shoot just like field points. I just was running them here, and I was just sighting in my bow 2 days ago. Or yesterday, I was re-sighting it.
After you realized
re-sighting it in.
Day 2 of the hunt,
but day 1 I had to rest.
Yeah.
But day 2, so I shot the field points, shot each arrow with the field point out to 70 yards. Screwed on because the manufacturer at Evolution, Dale Perry, says they shoot exactly like field points. Screwed on the mechanical 70, and shot 2 field points and a mechanical, and they're all within 4 inches.
Nice.
I mean, that's about as tight as I can group at 70.
Yeah, me too.
So
I'm happy with the pie plate.
And that's the second time I've done that. When I first got the prototypes, I'm like, okay, we're going to go see, because, that's one of the advantages of them,
Right.
And I can only shoot 50 yards at my place. And so I just grabbed my bow, grabbed an arrow, went up there to 50, screwed on the mechanical, and shot, and it hit just perfect, just like the rest.
I've still got the short jags to run those, so I have a fixed blade if I do shoot through grass, or I'm going to make a choice to.
You got the LRs too, the 180 LR. Those are pretty cool for long range and stuff. Shooting in the wind. They're new. They're not even on the website yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to run those too, and I'm just going to see how. Hopefully, they fly similar to the broadheads or to the mechanicals, but it's kind of I just like anything in life. I just got everything retooled and set up with new arrows and bow and everything. So I got here tonight, and I've got that thing dialed for my hinge because I just did a bunch of 3D and I was shooting with my hinge release. But getting out here in the wind, I was even trying to practice with that hinge. I was like, I cannot shoot a hinge in the wind. It's impossible for me. I'm not that guy. And I got my thumb button, that knock to it release. So Brad was here. We just rolled in just now tonight. So I threw out those blocks. And I just set up a new arrow profile on my Garmin Zero. So I got the one for the hinge, and I just set one up now for my thumb release. Yeah. And it got dark before I could get out beyond 66 yards. But from 0 to 66, I now have a perfectly dialed and calibrated sight for the button with the heads.
Are you shooting the 180 short jags?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's got their short jags, but they're
the long range.
The long range are they're vented short jags, so they have less surface area.
Right.
So they potentially will hold tighter groups at extended ranges, but you still have the FOC for the accuracy.
But they're still 180s, correct?
They're 180. Yeah.
So I shoot the 180 titaniums with a stainless sleeve up front on one of my bows, on my non-elk bow, and actually I shot that same bow for elk this year. But anyway, I just. For peace of mind for you, I had been shooting those for the last couple of years. And then Brent gave me 2 of the prototype mechanicals to take to Hawaii in February. And I figured that they wouldn't fly the same as the fixed blade. And I didn't have to do anything different to my bow to get those things to shoot the same. So screwed them on and shot them. I thought for sure that there was going to be a difference, and
sometimes there is. Like sometimes my field tips in my broadheads aren't hitting the same spot, but then I run into the shop over there at Wild Arrow. They make a little tweak to the rest or to the cables, and they'll bring them into alignment. It's usually a tuning thing,
right? Yeah, I didn't have to rest tune or anything to get once I get my field points, my mechanic or my fixed blades to match up. Then when I introduced the mechanical, I thought that there would be an adjustment I would have to make.
Yeah.
And with these ones, at least I did not. That doesn't mean with other ones you wouldn't have to, but with these I didn't.
It's interesting because where you're hunting tonight, that I was watching. We were glassing up there. I'm like, that is some thick country. I mean, there's a lot of obstacles between you and the animal. You can be within bow range, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
There's too many things in the way.
Well, I can tell you it happened to me tonight.
Yeah.
On coyote.
Yeah.
So, well, two things happened, but we won't talk. We'll talk about because I was running the mechanicals.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so he's there, but he's behind a little bit of that. What's the
Ocotillo?
No, the light little stuff with the scratchy stuff on it.
Choya or
No, not that.
pickled pear? Or
You
the,
No,
You
it's
got
just
prickly pear, you got choyo, you got
the stuff around camp that was grabbing my jacket.
cat's paw?
Oh, the cat's claw.
Cat's claw, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's a young one of those. He's behind it, and I'm like, crap. This mechanical might, it's probably not going to go through that brush. Whereas if I'd have had the short jags,
Yeah.
I just
Punch
punch right through it. Yeah, it was nothing. Yeah, but that was before I ran out of time with my rangefinder that was picking up the cat's claw and not
The coyote.
the coyote.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
So-
I'm excited to shoot the mechanicals and see how they fly
Yeah.
and see how they do and what kind of devastation they wreak, because I think they're a great tool. I'm anticipating they're going to be a great tool for a Coues deer hunt. And they're just a smaller animal.
They're pretty small and light. Antelope are small with light bones.
Mm-hmm.
And these are built, as far as mechanical broadheads go, I don't think there's a tougher one out there.
Yeah.
I mean, these have the same steel as our target tips. It's 416 stainless. We heat treat them. So, and then all the blades are stainless steel.
You got the center pin still.
It's got the center pin in there. Your front end's never going to break or bend.
And you've got the, and then I got that micro diameter shaft, and yeah.
So you've got penetration, great potential penetration back there, but also for flying in the wind, and you get the higher FOC and still a moderate weight arrow.
Yeah.
So you can get the range out there. So you can stretch it out pretty far with accuracy.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great setup. So we'll see. I got a javelina to kill.
I shot my javelina last year with mechanical.
You should have got here just a couple hours earlier.
Yeah, I heard.
I got a bunch that I was watching all day. They were there.
Yeah.
So
I want to do a little. Brad's here to film. I'm going to film and
going to warm up on those. They'll probably be right in that same draw tomorrow.
Right up there, right?
They've been there 2 days in a row.
I know. It's tempting, Brad. Yeah, I need to get one of those. We ate them up there with Marcus Hockett with Newberg's crew, and I was like, oh my gosh, it is such a tasty critter. The way that Marcus smoked them on the Traeger, I couldn't believe the little medallions he had smoked on their back strap with those javelina. I'm like, I had no idea.
I still have my
like
backstrap from my javelina.
I didn't
eaten them yet.
I didn't think it was going to taste good. I just didn't.
I have the tenderloins and everything.
And then Marcus made them, and I was like, what the heck is this? Like, how did you do this? And he has a little smoking, cooking thing. I'm like, hey, if it tastes like that, I want to shoot a bunch of these things. Like, I'll do it every year. But I assumed it was going to taste bad.
Well, you got to be real careful when you skin them.
Yeah, because the vent.
Especially if you shoot a boar.
Yeah.
Because you'll smell them.
Yeah.
Like, don't call them stink pigs for no reason.
Right.
Now, I will tell you, the female that I killed she did not stink like the boar that Shannon killed. So,
well, the same thing happened when I was in New Zealand. The Rutten bull tar smelled like a dirty goat, just nasty, raunchy goat. And you skin those suckers out, and the meat tastes delicious. And so it doesn't taste anything like it smelled. I expected it was going to be a hormone, stinky, ruddy, nasty meat, and it was really good.
Yeah, you got to stay with on the javelina. You got to really be careful to stay away from the scent glands, because if you puncture those, it'll ruin the meat in an instant if it gets on it. So you got to be real careful if you do.
Yeah, we'll do a little Googleizing,
there you
or DuckDuckGo.
Yeah,
we'll figure out how to do it. I've never killed one, so hopefully you don't shoot one of those glands.
Yeah, well, there's a big giant bulb on the top of its rump on its back.
Yeah,
so it's back towards the ass end of the javelina.
I did watch them do it, but it's been a while since
You can trim around it when you come down there and get it out, but you don't want to. If you can avoid cutting that at all costs, that's all I'm saying. If you take away one lesson from this podcast, that's
the one.
That's the one. Stay away from. But I did shoot my javelina this last year with one of Brent's mechanicals that I was testing.
I imagine it just destroyed it.
Yeah, it just ripped right through it, and it didn't. I mean, the broadhead. I'll show you the picture of the head. It's perfectly intact.
Wow.
And now I'm shooting them on my short jags that I got. I'm trying to shoot my third animal without sharpening one too. I killed my axis deer in Hawaii, killed my mule deer in Washington, and I was hoping to get to use the same broadhead on something down here.
It's wild.
If you could have blown them out, you get to use it.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, it'll be fun. We should hit the sack.
Yep.
We got a big day of hunting tomorrow.
So we can hunt tomorrow.
Can't believe you drove all the way down here and just rallied tonight.
Yeah. Heck yeah. I mean, I wanted to catch you boys before we, go different directions and things get more intense. So
when it starts heating up, the action.
Yep.
Well, these guys are bailing here. They're not bailing, but they got to go back to
Friday.
work and stuff Friday. So I might stick around.
You gonna stay for a bit?
I might go full lampers and just stay till I get one.
Brent may or may not have forgot about his anniversary, so he's got to wait till his wife goes off.
Yeah, I accidentally forgot about our anniversary yesterday, so.
Well, it's easy to do when you're up here.
I've got only thing I could think about was hunting them. Do I have all my gear ready and hunting and gear ready? And then I got a text from my mom, and I was like, oh.
Just the filming for me and Brad adds another level of is everything ready?
Mm-hmm.
But I got to give her about another week to cool off, so I've got plenty of time.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be kicking around right around this same area, so we'll stay in touch all week.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see what kind of content you guys get. Because last year when you guys were down here, you weren't filming at all.
No,
you just
I took a break.
Yeah.
I mean, I did film for personal content. Like I filmed some pretty cool stocks that I've never shared.
Yeah,
but no, this year we got a film permit,
right?
And
wow,
we are dialed to go and capture some cool stuff.
Cool.
But it's a different kind of hunt to film. Archery in general is a lot. Usually, there's so many variables in capturing that moment, of the kill shot.
Mm-hmm.
And in archery, it's quite a bit harder. And even right now, South Cox, I've seen a lot of his spot and stock films in open country, and you can have a guy hang back like Jack and film with a long lens, and it builds some. It's great. Builds some great anticipation, some excitement, right? Mm-hmm. But over the shoulder is that next level. It makes someone feel like they're actually stalking the animal.
And over the shoulder there with a lighted knock is it's pretty cool.
The problem is it's not that doable on a Coues deer.
That's not doable in this country.
No. One guy sneaking there is one thing. Two guys sneaking there is another. Now
you double your noise.
Now an over the shoulder javelina, we can wing that. I'm pretty sure we can pull that off. Over the shoulder mule deer, I think we can pull that off. Mm-hmm. I don't know about an over the shoulder Coues deer type hunt, and so Brad and I are kind of scheming and Ryan and seeing how we do that. But my long lens, because I have the 2-600, not the 1-4, and with the 4K and Brad's camera, I think we can punch in right there and get so close. In fact, it could be a problem trying to put both subjects in the same frame, if we're too close, depending on where the cameraman sets up. Just pull the doubler off, whatever. But we filmed over the shoulder now. The U.S. Forest Service won't let us share those films but we filmed over the shoulder elk, and it was awesome. It was legit. We got pretty good at that. We were 15 yards from, 40 elk, and filming right there, just like in the grass, like right there, waiting for these bulls to come in bow range. And we did this multiple times, and it was really neat footage. We could have chosen to have some guy stay back and film far away with the long lens. And we did have some of that footage, but elk are just a different animal. You can do that kind of thing with elk. You can do that with mule deer, I think. But I just don't know. We're both pretty sneaky, so filming over each other's shoulder, we could pull it off on a Coues deer. but you'd have to be dedicated to it. And I don't know if we're that dedicated.
And the hardest part is if you don't have a spotter, those deer, they get up and they reposition, they move, or you don't see them when they blow out. Like that's one thing that I've noticed a lot is they disappear quick.
Yeah. It's really helpful to have a third guy if they can, even if they're filming with the long lens or filming with a phone scope through a spotter. Is gives us second perspective. Anyways, we almost last year I had a deer at 30 yards that I just where he was at when we saw him from down below versus where he was at once I was up on the hill. I was looking in the wrong direction just based on the way that the contour of the hill shaped out. And to your point, getting two guys close was, I moved up, glassed this whole area thinking the deer was below me. And then once I got, okay, the deer is not right here, I signaled for Shannon to come up behind me, and he's filming over the shoulder. As he started to move up, the deer was 30 yards to my left. Yeah. And it jumped up and took off.
That's why I say it's so hard to kill an animal with a bow and arrow, and it's that much harder to do it with a Coues deer.
Yeah.
And then you want to film it too. It's just like, okay, you're just asking to go home with tag soup.
Right.
I mean, you're just asking for it. And so we'll see what kind of footage we come up with. I certainly think, unlike in the past, I mean, I will film a lot of cool buck, I think, footage. And part of it was, our reason for not filming was we didn't want to alert people to the hunt.
Right.
Yeah. But it's, the cat's out of the bag.
Right.
There's
Randy,
the hunting public, Hush.
Right.
Like there's just, myself on the podcast, we talked about Coues deer a lot. And so I think at this point though,
I think guys will come and try it and not come back. The guys that aren't used to, because it's just when you got the two in a row and guys are like, oh man, I want to go do that. I'm like, I was telling guys, it's not easy. It's very difficult.
If you have that many
it's tough.
Hunts, if you have limited time off and you got to choose between this or a Western hunt for elk or even late season mule deer,
you don't come here.
You don't come here. If you got room for more hunts, you come here. Right. And I think so part of our reason was just to keep it, without blowing up, just because it's an over-the-counter tag. Anybody can do it. But when I talked to Idaho or Arizona Game and Fish about it, they're like, you know what? We're not going to probably regulate this. It regulates itself. We want people to have as much opportunity as we can. All those additional tags don't really increase harvest rates.
No.
So that's kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, the unit that we were rifle hunting in, I was blown away because it had, I think it was 4 different seasons, and they had around 1,400 tags for the unit, give or take a few, if I remember correctly. The whole time we were down here, we saw like 3 other guys. So even if 1,400 guys drew the tag, they're not all down here hunting it at one time. And it's, and it's unit by unit, and they're big units, and there are deer everywhere. Everywhere you look down here, you run into deer.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they need to do anything to regulate the deer numbers. The deer population seems pretty healthy. Yeah.
The only downside to the hunt is it's crowded.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of people that you can run into. Guys can blow up your hunts and stuff. Right. But I experience that when I go to Colorado too. Yeah. Over-the-counter elk, 3rd season, same kind of stuff. Anything like that, it gets pretty crowded. If you're in Oregon, this is heaven, even with all the people. Right. So, because Oregon sucks that bad.
Yeah. Well, in the wintertime, you get out.
It no longer becomes hunting. It becomes a race to who can close the distance.
Right. That's why we're exploring some areas right now, that are pretty remote, at least harder to get to, because we just that's our MO anyway. Ryan and I kind of do that. But we wanted to see if you get out there, can you get away from people?
Right.
And I think absolutely. If you just get off one of these main roads right in this and just go 100 yards, you kind of have it to yourself. Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of road hunting guys, a lot. And if it's any further off the road than, 100 yards or so, guys aren't getting there.
Right. Well, they can glass. I mean, down here, obviously, you can glass for forever.
Yep.
And all these guys tend to run really good glass, so they can sit and scan and cover area without having to get away from the road, which, I guess to each their own. There's spots down here where you could backpack hunt. Like you could get out of into the country and
Yeah, we're looking at it.
Yeah,
we're looking at it. We got
spots.
but we talked about it. You can cover ground on a road, and you can glass, move next spot, glass, move next in a way that you can't on foot.
Right.
So you're really confined to a smaller area. But if the critters are back there and they're all to yourself, you can watch a buck for 4 or 5 days and then just kill them yourself.
Yeah.
But I find that to be true in all the Coues deer areas in general. Guys will see a giant Coues deer on the hill. Last year, we were like 4 or 5 trucks. They're like, oh, yeah, cool. And then they just kept looking for the mule deer down in the valley. They didn't even go after it. It's a Boone and Crockett, giant, stickery, trashy Coues deer. And they're like, yep, no. So you get it to yourself, man. There's just not that many guys dedicated to this.
Right. Well, I would liken it to Roosevelt elk hunting during archery season. You know, you get a lot of guys that think it's cool. That maybe they watched an ASP DVD or something, and they were like, "Oh, I want to try, hunting Roosevelts with my bow." And they go out and they come from a rifle hunting background.
Yep.
And they get into these areas where there's no clear cuts, there's no vantage points to look, no glassing, no none of that, and they get frustrated.
Yep.
And what do they end up doing? Converting right back over to rifle because it's too hard. It's too much of a challenge,
Yep.
And down here, I think that you get that. You get guys that are like, oh, I really want a Coues deer hunt. And then they get down here and the Coues deer hunting's really hard. And then they watch Ryan Lampers kill a giant mule deer or something. And they're like, I'll go do that because it looks a lot easier.
Yeah.
So,
well, and there's a lot of mule deer opportunity too. I just think, so we're filming both and we'll see how it goes. This is our first year. We've filmed it. This is my 4th year, and I've been on some of Randy's film. Shot my first Quadamundi the first year I got here.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get another one. Last year we didn't see one. The year before when I was with Lampers, we saw 4, but we just couldn't get a shot. Right. But those things are elusive as a unicorn, and we're kind of hoping.
Well, this is how hard the hunt is if you think about it. Randy killed his first Coues deer with a rifle in December.
I think it's his 6th year or something, 5th year.
And he's been hunting them pretty hard. So that tells you something as far as, how difficult of a hunt this is.
Even though it's difficult, though, it's fun, even if you come home empty.
Fun. Yeah. I just like seeing different country, and I like getting up on the tops of these ridges and seeing what kind of crap the Mexicans left on the landscape for you to look at,
Yeah.
I brought a backpack
all sorts
off
of
the mountain for Ryan yesterday, but I didn't see him last night, so he hasn't got
it. Yeah, they got the little backpacks and they got little booties that they put on their feet to sneak
the
around.
Carpet shoes,
It said Stone Glacier on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Found this. It was a camouflage backpack, and he had sent me a picture of a blanket and said, "Hey, I got this for you." I said, "Cool." So I was going to trade him the backpack for it, but backpack had some hand sanitizer. It had a purple bra. It had some black pants and a few other miscellaneous things. We're half use roll toilet paper.
That's pretty legit. I found like piles of like 20 backpacks and booties and like the whole thing.
Blankets, cans, pop cans.
Especially if you get closer to the border, you find a lot more of that than you do up further north and stuff.
Right, up here north of Phoenix where we're hunting right now.
Yeah, totally. Wink. It's totally different up here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is a fun hunt though. I mean, I think anybody really, if they ever wanted to just do something in the off season, quote unquote, the off season, as Ryan liked to call it the other day, I was like, "Oh, off season, I'll see you in January."
Right.
This is a hunt that I think will, 1, test your skills, 2, give you something that's probably unique to what you've ever done in the past, 3, give you an opportunity to look at one deer that you're familiar with, and mule deer if you hunt mule deer, and then 2, unfamiliar deer, which is the Arizona whitetail, the desert whitetail, the Coues or cows or whatever you want to call them. So it provides a unique opportunity to come down here and it's 60 to 70 degrees every day. It gets cold at night. We've had some nights that were,
It was 26 this morning.
Yeah. And December when we were here, we had one morning that was 18. So, I mean, it gets cold out in the desert. And it's a pretty fast swing up and a pretty fast swing down.
This is the first time I've ever been sunburnt in January.
I love it. Every year, I soak up the sun, take my shirt off, walk around a little bit. It's like it can get pretty warm some of these afternoons.
Right.
It's nice. So
yeah,
I'm all about this hunt.
It's just a fun challenge.
Yeah,
it definitely is, and it's relatively inexpensive. I think the tag and license is $460, but then the license is good for 365 days, or the calendar year. Your tag is good from 365 days from the day you buy it.
And if you draw a javelina tag, you can add that to it.
You can add that in there as well.
And then there's still all the jackrabbits and all the coyote hunting and the fox. We saw a fox or a Mexican wolf. We weren't sure tonight. We saw something. It wasn't a coyote.
I don't think you can shoot those.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. So
and then you could put in for, then you have your license so that if you want to put in for an elk draw in the fall or something, you can do that as well. Arizona's preference point system is kind of nice because you can you get to your loyalty point if you put in for 5 straight years.
Yeah. And
then if you come down here at a time when you can take hunter safety, you can get your hunter safety points. So you're guaranteed to always have 2 points as long as you keep putting in. So drawing a Coues deer hunt, depending on what you're looking for from a rifle perspective, can be 0 points, or if you're looking for better dates or units, it might cost you a few points to do that. But it's just a fun opportunity. It's something different, unique.
Your footage, where are you guys going to end up putting that?
Well, we haven't decided yet. Yeah, we talked about waiting until we're done filming before we decide what to do. Jack was thinking about putting together a film for Full Draw Film Tour if we get good enough content.
Yep.
I'd also like to obviously make a film for ASP, put it out on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
But it just kind of depends on what we end up getting.
Yeah.
What it's worthy of after the fact.
For sure, yeah.
We're trying to film as much as we can so we have enough content to
work with.
To do something, yeah.
So if it goes on, or where can people find ASP and find you, Cory?
YouTube channel, Angry Spike Productions, is a pretty easy search for that. And then social media, it's all at Angry Spike or Angry Spike Productions on Facebook, the space.
Yep.
So pretty easy to get a hold of us. If we're not Coues deer hunters, is like not our expertise by any stretch of the imagination. Roosevelt elk is primarily our game of choice, but we've really branched out into everything else. I mean, we've got films from hunting in Southeast Alaska for Sitka blacktail to hunting down here to hunting javelina down here, which will launch before too long. Hunting Idaho bears, Oregon bears, Washington bears. Pretty much everything. We got a turkey hunt that we put out, but elk is the forte for sure.
For sure. Would put you on the map, and Shannon's like,
that's right.
I don't know, some kind of Roosevelt like whisperer.
I told him they should have changed it to Roosevelt Kings.
Yeah, seriously, like that man is a Roosevelt killing machine.
You'll get to see his film this year, even though we didn't actually get to hunt with Cory and Donnie as part of the Destination Elk film series.
With Elk 101.
With Elk 101. We still filmed for that. So his Roosevelt that he killed this year will be on there. So if anybody wants to watch that, we have to wait until after they put theirs out before we can put our own film out, just as part of the agreement. So let them run it first. We don't want to steal all their thunder.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Our 4,000 YouTube subscribers would just ruin it for their, 100,000.
For Cory Jacobson and his crew. Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I've been a fan for a long time. Jack, where can people find you?
Instagram, like just Golden Rosie, and same as the YouTube channel. I've got a few films on there. Each one gets a little bit less shaky and a little bit clearer and better. And
that's how mine are.
Yeah, dude.
You go and look at my old stuff and you look at my new stuff. It's like, that's how you do it. You grind and you just keep getting better and better. Yeah,
it's been fun. Like watching Shannon since I was a kid. Got to meet him and Cory, and then Cory's just been become a really close friend, and he's just been very supportive, extremely supportive of me. And like coming down here, just with my current state, wasn't a possibility.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got a kid coming. I just started a business, and he's like, well, I'll cover everything and then give me a price. And I was like, well, deal. I'm going to break your camera and then we're even.
Yeah. Worked out great.
Yeah. So it's just been cool. And so being able to watch guys like them and then being able to talk to them and then just learning how to hunt elk and getting better. And then it's like, I want to start filming. So it's just been a really fun process. And if nothing else, to get to watch just footage from years back and just see different experiences is pretty cool.
Absolutely. And Brent Hahn, people can find you at Valkyrie Archery.
Yep, ValkyrieArchery.com.
And if they use the code GRITTY when they buy stuff at Valkyrie Archery, they save money.
They get 10% off, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but our stuff's not cheap.
That's better than the ASP code, so I'm not even going to give that one out. It's only 5%, so use the code GRITTY for 10% off. Code. Yeah. Sorry to all our followers.
Yeah, it's what's cool about it. I have a bunch of guys that went into Wild Arrow and bought them the other day, and you get that. You got a lifetime warranty on those.
On impact failure on game animals, yeah.
Yeah.
But we pretty much do it on just about everything. Unless you're going out testing it on concrete and,
Yeah.
Truck rims and stuff. We don't guarantee that. But,
Right.
No, but if those, and those guys that are close to Wild Arrow, though, I mean, that's one of our only pro shops that there is, because those guys know what they're doing.
It's just a fun place to go head down there at Wild Arrow, but they can get you set up if you're right there out of Utah.
And they can get your bow tuned, and so you don't have any problems, if you're not.
I got that Garmin Zero, and I've struggled with setting it up each time because it's not that, it doesn't have a micro adjust rail, and it's a sphere is what the actual housing is. And so you have like a circle on one end and a dot on the other, and the sphere has to line up, and that circle and dot, when they converge at full draw, that's how your reticle is lined up. And then that what you're ranging is actually what it's ranging. That's how you get that laser to be pointed in the right direction. Well, that sphere is a mind screw. Like when you're trying to adjust that, it's like just to move it a hair this way or a hair that way, and there's no micro adjustments on the sight itself. There's only like these screws that are. So Garmin's coming out with a new one. But those guys at Wild Arrow, they got it dialed.
Yeah.
They had me set up on that Zero, which usually takes the reticle is what takes a while. Once the reticle's done, I can do whatever I want. I can set it any range of targets, or hunt, shoot profiles. But those guys are cool. They know what they're doing. Yeah. So if you live in Utah, that's
or anywhere near them. I mean, I send guys from all over to have send them their bows, because a lot of pro shops around the country.
Yep.
Bow techs aren't real that savvy, and those guys, everything's a no-brainer for them. I mean, they're like, oh yeah, no problem, we can do that.
They're so good. Like it's nice. I walk in there, take my bow. I'm like, then everything's dialed, shooting bullet holes through paper. Then I'm out there, crushing targets. So they're building my arrows and the whole deal. And so it's a nice, it's a great place. But yeah, check out ValkyrieArchery.com, folks. All right, let's go kill some deer.
All right, Brian.
Stay ready, folks.
Do it.
Bye-bye.